Time now for the Sunday Roundtable. With us this morning, Democratic political analyst Marianne Marsh and Republican political analyst Virginia Buckingham. Thank you both for being with us this morning. All right, let's start with Ed Flynn, his take on Kendra Lara. Some on the left now rushing to her defense after this report that she commissioned and put out this week that said she wasn't really speeding 27 miles an hour. What do you expect will happen in the preliminary election come Tuesday, Marianne?
Well, the fact that Kendra Lara had that press conference with that report on Thursday, just 4 days before the primary, tells you she thinks she's in trouble. So the question is, can she make it through the primary on Tuesday? A low turnout, given some of her endorsements, especially amongst progressive groups who could go door to door, get people to vote, she might pull it off.
It's a big difference from what police have to say about this.
I mean, it's also too little, too late to put information out there after this story has been drummed into the heads of voters. Having said that, not many voters are going to turn out, unfortunately. So I think it's a real crapshoot what's going to happen.
You heard Ed Flynn on whether or not he's going to run for mayor.
Clear.
Yeah, he didn't. It doesn't sound like it. What do you think, Virginia?
I mean, he was very clear, and he actually even put out there what he wants to do. That was like saying, my resume, I'd like to go do veteran services, Governor Healy. So that was very interesting.
Marianne?
You know what people say and what they do, oftentimes two different things. And if you look at Ed Flynn's actions, certainly as city council president and in the days and weeks leading up to this interview, he acts like someone who wants to run for mayor. He's raising the money. He's got over $800,000 in the bank. He certainly has, as publicly supportive as he was of Mayor Wu on this show. Privately, that has not been the case, and oftentimes in several occasions undermining her. So I would not, despite what Ed Flynn said today, it would not surprise me if he ran.
One more point on this, on Mass and Cass. Either clean it out now, as he said, or do the ordinance, and Mayor Wu's doing a great job, which he also said. So right. Which is it?
I just want to add one thing also. He's city council president. And yet he sat here today and said, well, we have a disagreement. We can't get the votes together. Buddy, you're the city council president. Get the votes together. And it's been a dysfunctional year.
All right. Well, Attorney General Andrea Campbell gave the initial go-ahead for dozens of ballot questions that could go before voters next year. Among them, dropping MCAS as a graduation requirement, rent control. State Rep Mike Connolly of Cambridge, he was a big supporter of that ballot question on rent control, but the legislature was already working on the issue through traditional channels. Is going to the voters the best strategy for this, Marianne?
In a presidential year where you could have 3.7 million voters like we did in 2020, it is but. It is, when you look at the polling, 59% of people across Massachusetts support rent control until you get into the questions that start to argue against it, and that support goes down. So whoever runs the best campaign will win that. It might be them. And in the meantime, you're now forcing the legislature to try to get something done. And I'm hard pressed to think they're going to get it done before the election.
Rep Connolly did say he thinks the voters are sort of ahead of the politicians on this one. What do you think, Ginny?
Well, I think we have a do-nothing legislature, and that's what happens when that is the case, when you have one party in charge and they're not getting the job done, so the voters are going to have to do the legislator's job.
I'm interested also, MCAS as a graduation requirement, taking that, and also allowing the auditor to audit the legislature. These are all things now that potentially can move forward.
Making psychedelics legal. Don't forget the most important one.
That's another one.
On MCAS, again, it's a tricky one because people statewide want a state test that proves proficiency to graduate from high school. So now the only way you can pull this off is you have to argue against the MCAS, but you got to give them something else because otherwise I don't think it will pass. In terms of the auditor, we talked about this weeks ago. She set up that PAC. She's out there campaigning. She's all over social media trying to get the signatures now. This is about Diana DiZoglio really ramping up her statewide profile.
All right, a bit of a surprise in Rhode Island last week. Gabe Amo, the winner on the Democratic side. He's a former White House aide and a Biden-esque centrist. He beat out a progressive candidate who had the backing of AOC and Bernie Sanders. So is this a window into how things might shake out in 2024 and kind of what we saw in 2022 is a return back to the middle, Ginny?
Well, wouldn't that be nice for taxpayers and voters in this country? I don't think you can read too much into one race that was very crowded, that had some scandal. We'll see, but it would be great news if that was the case, if AOC and Bernie Sanders were no more.
Gabe Amo ran a great race. I mean, the only surprise to me was he won by 8 points in 11-person field. He had the ads up, made it a two-person race with Aaron Regenberg, and on the same 24-hour cycle, Patrick Kennedy endorsed Gabe Amo, and Patrick had that seat. And Bernie Sanders endorsed Aaron Regenberg. So actually, Rhode Island's a pretty moderate state. There are no raging liberals that hold office down there. And Gabe said, I'm going to be more like the people in Rhode Island, not only voters and the people I would serve, but the rest of the delegation, and he used the debt vote to do just that.
So should Democrats be looking, though, for more moderate candidates nationwide?
I mean, Biden ran as a moderate, okay? And that's how he won in 2020. Trump and Republicans are so far to the right. So that is a better way to do it. But you have to run the race you're in, and the state you're in, and the district you're in. And I think actually the country is far more moderate than people think right now.
All right. Do you think Massachusetts is?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. That's
Right.
why
Yeah.
we've had a Republican governor for the past 30 years until now.
And Moore Healey's moderate.
Well, we'll see. I hope she is, but I'd like to see some tax reform.
We could keep this going, but we're going to move on. The House returns from the August break this week, and we could be looking at a government shutdown by the end of the month. Is that where Speaker McCarthy and the GOP's hard right are headed, Ginny?
I think some of them are, but I think most of them have the big C in mind, which is compromise. Let's get through this period of time. Let's do policy in the big spending bill at the end of the year. Democrats are at fault too because they're throwing Ukraine aid into this bill. So it's a mess, but we need compromise.
Biden impeachment. What do you think, Marianne?
Oh, a girl can dream. Let's go back to the 90s, the last time this happened. Kevin McCarthy is a hostage. He's not a leader. He's being held hostage by Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz and all of those guys. So every day he has to put something out there. The government will shut down because of Kevin McCarthy and the right wing there. We will also go through impeachment. He wants an impeachment inquiry. When those two things happen together, Bill Clinton's numbers went through the roof. Democrats won everything, and that's exactly what's going to happen in 2024.
Look, it's bad for our country that
It is bad.
impeachment is now just a political weapon.
Agree.
And it happened under Trump. It happened now with Biden.
Trump,
it's a really
there
bad
was
thing.
evidence of Trump wrongdoing in so many places, especially he deserved to be impeached
Can't
twice.
argue
Shame
one
on
is
the-
fine and the
No,
other is
no.
not. It's
Ginny,
a bad
you have
thing
to do
for our
balls
politics.
and strikes. Balls and strikes. You've got to call the facts.
All right, let's leave it there. Much more with the roundtable after the break.